And last but not least, Dark. What do you have for us?
Okay, I have
You have one of the series that,
probably one of the more notable
at least one
series
of the
this
ones that have
season.
been most talked about this season, even more than probably like something like
Yeah,
Nier, right?
probably.
Yeah,
It's popping out for sure.
yeah, on
But
social media.
yeah, so I have Oniichan wa Oshimai,
Uh huh. Also known as Onimai.
and
I'm now your sister. Manga original.
yes, so this is a manga original, and the synopsis is Mahiro Oyama was just a normal erotic game loving dude till he woke up one morning as a woman. Turns out his scientist sister, Mihari, tried out one of her new experiments on him with a disastrous outcome. But Mihari is determined to study him as he is determined to go back to his shut-in game-playing life, and one thing's for sure, life is going to get a whole lot weirder from here on out. Now that synopsis fucking sucks, but whatever. Um, yeah, so basic setup of the series is the pretty standard like gender bent. Um,
Yes.
and it's really good.
Yeah.
Um,
What about it
the
is in particular?
well, first of all, the audio visuals are insane. Because this is
Yeah, so this is done by Studio Bind. Studio Bind is a very relatively
Studio
new series,
Bind
new studio.
is yeah. Do you know
This
it's from Wit, isn't it? Is that what you're saying here? It's like an offshoot between like was it Studio Wit and
It's White Fox and
White Fox and Wit or
like
something?
I,
Engie or something.
Oh, okay.
yes, yes. So essentially, what happened is like White Fox Engage, they did like an offshoot. They created Studio Bind. The first thing that they worked on again because White Fox does a lot of isekai stuff. The first thing that they really worked on was Mushoku Tensei, which is
Yeah.
again very famous isekai, one of the classics. This is sort of their second major series that they are heading. They are also helped with production by Egg Firm. Did a lot of stuff. Did helped with production side on Danmachi, Saiki Kuso, what is it? Sword Art Online Alternative and Alicization. So they have a lot of
Yeah.
experience of
A
doing
lot
like
of
bigger
money.
stuff. Yeah, a lot of money. And from what I can tell of this of the production side, obviously the director himself has done a lot of like different animation assistants and stuff like that. Fuji Shingo.
Yeah,
This is I believe his,
this is his directorial debut,
yes.
which is
And the
kind
funny
of
thing is,
incredibly impressive.
the funny thing is, he's like in terms of like doing main director role, he's obviously this is his first role, and he's somewhat still like pretty relatively experienced in terms of doing like key animation stuff, right? I looked at like the other stuff. How dark can you? How many Shaft people are in? Because it's like I'm looking at this like like White Fox stuff like that. Some Engi. There's like a lot of like A1 Pictures people here. There's like a good like third of like the people here are like from Shaft people or like Watanabe Akio, who's I believe associated with Front Wing now, but obviously he's most famous for doing Monogatari stuff, right? Um, Watanabe Akio is both the unit director and the story one of the main like storyboard people. And like
Yeah.
there's a couple of other Shaft people here, very famous Shaft people here too. And I'm just like, okay, like what's going on? Like what happened with this series? How did this series get so much money? Like what?
I mean, I guess we just need to look at, for whatever reason, the what would you call it? The producers section
Yeah.
on ANN or Mall, and you'll see quite a lot, quite a lot of them.
Yeah.
Not only are there a lot of them, but you have stuff. You have that. You have Egg Firm. You have Pony Canyon. Like,
Yeah. There is a
it's
lot
just
of
like
money
this series
poured
has
into
a
this for some
lot of
reason.
money behind it, and yeah, like why? Like I don't know why. God only fucking knows why. But
It's the future
I
of
will
Japan.
say that has led to a really good series that is
Yeah.
definitely not as in the mud of degeneracy as you would think. Obviously,
Mm.
there's like etchy type shots. There's obviously like looter type shots, but as far as the content of the like the subject matter, essentially, it is not that. It is very standard. Well, not even standard. It's like slice of life stuff, trivia, like what if type scenario things. Sort of like very much Mahito adjusting to be. Um, I think it's handled. I think it's handled pretty all right. It's not like super crazy, super on the nose. In the sense of like almost like bordering on like offensive in ways. Um, and I feel like a lot of like My Hero's parts like kind of are handled in a way where it's like I don't know, I feel like it's very like wholesome in the way it's handled. And it's not like it's weird because you're like on one hand you're like, okay, this show like this is completely in like the mud of degeneracy or should be, right? But
My
then
question is,
what's
like, the theme
happening is
aside,
like on screen you're like this is actually like not that. It's like the gender bend is like used as a like shtick, like as a butt to a lot of jokes of like this adjustment. But as far
okay.
as like the way they handle the like I guess you could call it like girl trivia or like girl aspects now, uh or like female aspects are very like I guess like not subtle but also with care in a lot of ways that like you wouldn't expect. Like it's not like in your face with like it being like oh like and just the way the jokes are told, not like super in your face. Um,
My question
there is
is
a censored
how
and
episode.
uncensored version as Session brought up in chat, and the uncensored version is more of the like etchy type scenes that are not like heavily censored. Like you'll have like the censored version of the show is like heavier smoke, heavier fog, scenes that are just straight up not shown because they literally just do not show like a butt shot or something like that. But as far as up till episode 3, there's no like actual nudity in the sense of like an H series, if you know what I mean. Right? Like if you're censoring like they as far as I know, they censor a like bathhouse scene more heavily in the censored version than like any series on the planet would censor it. Um, so it is really strange with that type of stuff. I would obviously recommend watching the uncensored version because I mean you're already in the mud, like you're here, so there's no reason to to pearl clutch now. Um, and like I said too, it's not like you're gonna get like nudity in it anyway. It's just I would
So,
wonder, I would be curious as to when this is airing essentially in Japan, like time-wise and on TV, to know why there even is a censored version. So,
I mean, my guess is that regardless, even if it's like one of the late night shows, and it probably is a late night slot, it's probably by law it is still required because of TV broadcasting regulations. It's probably required to still have a censored version, but that might be. I am not too familiar with those regulations, but my
I guess
question
it's just
is
weird
that
because it's like I said, like I've seen like way worse shit that like does not have a censored and uncensored version
mm,
that like this put in its censored version and like its uncensored version has.
right.
It's very weird in that sense. Which again leads to that expectation of like you're going into this thinking it's going to be the like the dog show that came out this season, like that, and it's like it's not that in that sense. Like it's not
It's definitely
like
a different
obviously it
bent. It's
has
like
its like
that Inukai-san
etchier
is like very yeah.
stuff, but
Uh-huh.
it's not there to have you ogle constantly the entire show. It is not
Mhm.
there to only focus on that. It's not even really there to and it's not there to like have like every single scene be like any sort of sexual nature either. Like there are a few so far, but realistically, that's kind of it at this point. Um,
Mhm.
and again, a lot of it is focused on that sort of trivia of how Mahito is changing, so to speak, changing his or her at this point behavior, um, and how they're sort of adjusting to these aspects of their life. Because there was things like, what was it, episode 2? Um, Mahiro gets his period. And the way they
Oh,
build up to
okay.
that is very funny. And then handled with the shtick of like he literally can handle something that his sister had went through, every month. And he's like under the futon being like, it's over, like I'm dying. Um,
Oh, okay. That's
like
actually a
this is
pretty
the
cool way
end.
of doing it, to be honest. Like
Yeah,
that's
and
actually a
so
pretty
like
good good way of doing it.
that leads to a very like wholesome moment between the two. Um, and
Mm.
a lot of these shtick focuses around right now is Mahiri, Mihiri rather, enjoying essentially this what she's using this as like rehabilitation for her brother and
Mhm.
being a like neat. Um, enjoying how he's like more opening up to other people now that he has like a completely shocked like different perspective on life. Like it's not the
Mm.
most deep thing ever, but I think the way they used a lot of this was really good. I think the focus on him, like how he was before, where he was a shut in, he wouldn't talk to people, he's intimidated by he's intimidated by Mihiri's Gyaru friend with the pink hair that's in this thumbnail too.
Mhm.
Um, and even like obviously even when he first meets her, extremely intimidated by her, but then opens up to her and they have like a conversation and she cooks for him and everything like that.
Mhm.
And then he like adjusts to having a conversation with this person, whereas before would completely not like converse with someone. Um, and so episode 1 has a part where it kind of like has the internal rationale of it, where he became like a neat because his sister excelled so hard that he was like he felt like shit essentially, like he felt like a failure sort of because of her success,
Damn,
and
just
knew
like
like it
me.
wasn't and knew like it wasn't really her fault, but this new now like him being a girl now, like this sort of experiment, he feels liberated in the sense that he does not have to live his old life. He doesn't have to have
Mhm.
the pressure of that. He doesn't have to have the pressure of like the older brother or the older sibling with the younger, more successful like sibling under him, and the expectations of people around him either.
Mhm.
So I think those parts of the show is really where it shines through, like those moments, and there are a significant amount of them, and it's honestly what most of the show is. It's using this like this premise to really push those aspects of it, like the rehabilitation part. And I thought that that was really cool, and I think that that is way more of a shock again, like I said, than what I expected going into this and what I expected before this series aired.
Because you kind of, I think, and this is same for myself, and I think most reasonable anime watchers as well. What most people expected from this was a very repetitive, episode one. Oh, I'm a girl. It's like, ooh, like, oh, this happened. Like, this is what a girl goes through. Oh no, I'm embarrassed. Like, I have to do this as a girl, and then that's like sort of the comedy shtick, right? And it kind of resolves in some sort of like embarrassing slash funny way. And then episode two. Oh no, I'm a girl, but I have to go to into the locker room. Oh no, and then episode three. So it's a little bit, from what you're telling me, it's a little bit more introspective, and it focuses a little bit more on how the the main character, deals with being a girl in general, and it's not really like being the girl and then being embarrassed that he's a girl is not really the focal comedy shtick of the
Yeah,
series.
the like obviously it uses some of those parts.
Yeah,
It
it
uses
does
those
use
like
it.
to sort of lead into it as well.
Yeah.
But it usually like kind of hits one thing and then kind of moves on.
Mhm.
Especially like the Arrogate game part kind of just blew past that. Like that's kind of over after episode 1, which was interesting, at least so far. Like it's been a lot of
Mhm.
game stuff. Like, Mahito plays fucking Guilty Gear in episode 2. And like a first person shooter, I think like PUBG or something. Or no, I think it might have been Rainbow Six or something like that. But so yeah, it's like there are stuff like that, but it kind of moves past it, and like I said, it uses a lot of that to lead to the more wholesome moments. And then they have like small like fun stuff, like getting up to go to the girls' bathroom in like a movie theater, and like that's the only one that has a line, and it's fucking massive. And he's
Mhm.
just like, wait, well, like why does this one have the line? And it's like there's no line for the men's room. Like, well, yeah,
Right.
like that is what happens. I've seen
Right.
that many a times. Um, but yeah, it's just like again, it's just a very very fun romp, a very fun show. Has a killer OPD, killer audio visuals, and oh yeah, and Toast posted in our private thing. He posted a you know the censorship
Yeah,
appears to
there's
be
been
thicker fog.
there's been a lot of stuff flying around with regards to the series. The censorship is the one thing, and then there's the whole sort of reception to its general premise, right? Which is again like, oh, gender bender, like creepy. Oh, why would you want to create a series about this weird, like, being a girl and doing weird, embarrassing shit or whatever? Like, there was
Because
that
it's
fuss, right?
funny.
Um,
Because it's
what
funny.
is your reaction to that? It's like
That's
that.
why.
That's like there's a lot of that. Like,
Literally
you know what I'm
touch
talking about,
grass.
right?
I mean, just like literally touch grass. Like, I don't know what the fuck else to say. Like, if this was a series that was like over the top, like in your face with like overly lewd shit, and it was only about that, like that's all it was, I would somewhat agree. I would be like, yeah, like, like who gives a shit? Like, of course we were gonna get one of these. But I think the series itself, like when you watch it, like it kind of speaks for itself with those things. Like it really takes you off guard, like in a lot of ways. Where you'll watch it and you'll be thinking 99% of the time, why is this series like so wholesome? Like what is going on here? Like why is this series like have being really genuine with a lot of these things? Like this isn't what it's supposed to be. This is supposed to be
Yeah.
like boobs,
Yeah,
and it's
it's
not.
like yeah, and I think it's very unfortunate because there's so much of that judging based on the cover, and even when people it's like how I said for at the beginning of Spy Classroom, right? I like consciously said both to myself going in and during the review, I said I have this bias because when I'm going in, this freaking looks like Eminence of Shadow to me, right? It's like it looks like shit. It's shit. So I had this negative bias coming in, and obviously, the other stuff like Princess Principal and Akuma and Riddle, I had this bias, and I think a lot of people coming into this series, a lot of less reasonable anime watchers have a bias coming into this series that unfortunately they do not want to admit, or they are not consciously uh they have not consciously acknowledged yet, right? And they're just like, oh, weird gender bender girl turning into or boy turning into girl stuff, that's creepy, bro. without really taking in what the series is as a whole, I think. And that's, I think, to their detriment, because again, both the audiovisuals and the general story that is being told by the series is actually pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, especially again, the
Yeah,
example that you gave
it's
about,
very,
the
very
period
fun.
thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and it has,
So
and again, like it has a lot of stuff like that where you can tell My Hero's like perspective on a lot of things is changing, and like learning a lot, and realizing that, like, I guess in some ways sort of like more on the rehabilitation part, that especially, or just like in general, that like it's not just been difficult for you essentially, like before this,
mhm.
right? Like in the sense of like people, like like everyone's going through shit.
Yeah, I think
And yeah,
it's
and
a
more, and
good
again, like
exploration
more
of
of a shock to repair the relationship between him and his sister.
yeah. Uh I definitely do have bias because the cover vibes are absolutely rancid. Oh, by the way, also like the openings and stuff like that, the audio visuals have gotten a lot of positive reviews though. Like
Yeah, I
there's been
mean
a
the
lot of
opening and ED are
um
god tier.
yeah, they are very reminiscent of like older like Nico Nico edit, do a lot of electronic music kind of stuff, Mosaic Wave if people don't know of that sort of indie circle and so on, and just like the again like the old Nico Nico days of the like that sort of electronic music production. Um, and there's been a lot of sort of behind the scenes releases in a sense on like social media and otherwise of like how the artwork and how the references and like themes kind of piled up.
Yeah, people have been
Uh,
posting a lot of cuts, and it's very cool.
yeah, and it's like really cool. Yeah, and again, I think especially after like Bocchi the Rock, where everybody was kind of universal on, wow, these animators and like the anime production related people put in a lot of care into the series and made the series shine, even almost despite the original series not being necessarily as good, right? And made the anime shine, which is again like that is really what anime is meant to do. It is supposed to use the animation medium to give a to really make these come to life, right?
Yeah.
And seeing that's again sort of behind the scenes for that process, and seeing this come to life in a positive way, despite whatever biases, in a positive way, I think is very nice and interesting as well. So,
Yeah, and
yeah.
again, like a lot of that stuff like feels like strange, again, feels strangely like, because of those things, feels like early 2010s like type stuff.
Oh yeah, this
And it's
feels
very nice.
super. Yeah, 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 yeah. This feels, God, just like the hair color and like everything else. This feels like late 2000s all over again.
Yeah.
It's like
You can just say
2007.
Aspire.
You're
It's
just.
a Nichijou all over again.
It's not even Nichijou. I would say
It's
like
just like
the most.
everything. It's like it just feels,
It's
it's
like,
got that vibe.
yeah, it feels like a Lucky Star kind of thing, more like. But
Yeah.
yeah. Anyways, any other words? Any last words on the subject of Onimai? I know again, there's been a huge amount of
Um
discussion on both in reviews and on the everything else on social media. But do you have anything else you want to contribute?
yeah, I
How do
mean,
you
I would just
feel about?
say
Never
in
mind.
it has like a lot of new people on it, in some spots, which is really impressive. Like I said, like the director, breakout director, the and I think the yeah, it's Masao Kobayashi, the art director, is also like, this is their first, like this is their only credit right now as far as I can find. So I just think in general everyone on the project's doing a pretty amazing job.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, pretty
really
good.
surprising to see how much this series got put behind it. Uh, it also features a trailer for the movie Titanic in space, so that was really good.
Isn't Titanic in space just space pirate? What's his name?
What?
What?
What? Wait, were you asking? Were you actually like asking me a question, or what's going on?
What? Isn't Titanic in Space just Captain Harlock?
I don't think so.
But yeah. So either way,
Sorry,
yeah.
I meant Bodacious Space Pirates, aka
Oh my
Moretsu
god.
Pirates.
I think that's even more off the mark, but yeah. Anyways, if that was it, then again,
So
only
you're
my
saying
Yeah, I
is
would say give it a shot. Like that would be my
Mm.
only advice is give it like a genuine shot.
Hmm.
And that's it because you will very likely probably end up liking it.
man,
Yeah.
from White Fox going from Shoku Tensei to this, they're 2 for
Pretty
2.
interesting, yeah.
They're 2 for 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, again,
Eh,
like this Studio Bind is obviously like they came out swinging where we now know or probably whatever they're going to put out is going to look insane. So that's another
Yeah.
pretty awesome thing.
I'm honestly looking forward to Studio Bind. It's going to be interesting, and they aren't going to be as restricted to sort of, I guess, the White Fox philosophy, right? Of just like doing whatever isekai
So you're saying they're
drips
not
onto.
bound to any
Yeah.
philosophy anymore?
Yeah, no pun intended. But
No, all puns intended.
yeah, exactly. White Fox, they're not like White Fox that are just like slaving to making every isekai every season. So I'm definitely looking forward to what can come from this new sort of spin-off studio. So, but yeah, again, I know this was a pretty hard series to cover. Thank you for covering it in a very proper, overall, you know, kind of good summary, right? And yeah, if you guys do like kind of an interesting sort of slice of life, variant, I guess almost an exploration of sorts of character development based around the theme of what if dude became a girl, and done with very good audio visuals. Please do check this out. And that was again Onimai. And what is it? What it's the Oniichan wa Oshimai. Onimai, I'm now your sister. Yes, sorry. By